Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Hello. Can we have the folks in the foyer join us? Hello, hello. It's a community. Don't mess with our conversation. That's right. The Wrangler this is actually one of the things I love about Unity is we are a community, and the conversations are super important. Good morning. My name's Hudgens, and I have the privilege to serve as the Unity president. So welcome to Unity of Fort Collins. Who do we have that's new here today? Any newcomers? Put your hand up if you are. We'll plunk a packet in it. No? Okay. Well, I'm not sure I'd head out in the rain to try a new church today either, so that's all right. Welcome to the folks online. We're happy to have you. It might be a really good day to be watching online. I want everyone to turn and look at the art wall. Do an ooh, ah. Isn't that awesome? So this was the brainchild of Janice and Claire and anybody else? You just got roped in. So anyway, the theme wall is enlightenment, and there are 10 different artists up there from within our community. So it's a cool new concept that because a lot of times you're too shy to have a whole wall, and so to have a piece on a wall so anyway, you budding artists out there, there's more opportunities. Today's talk is by our own Courtney Fuchs, and I'm so looking forward to that. Courtney just published a book, ooh, ah, and she is a multi-talented, joyful presence in our community and does a lot of the social media stuff, so big thanks to Courtney for that. Elise Wonder does music for us today, and the reader is Ginny Hout. Thank you, Ginny. Wonderful. So if anybody, we've got a few folks who are wanting to do announcements, so if you'd come line up, we'll get you going through quickly. You're going the wrong way, Lil. Coming around. Go ahead, Mike. Come on up.
Good morning. All is well.
Yay! It's true.
So that's at the end of one of our prayers that we say, and those words, I've been coming here maybe 25 years, have been some of the most challenging words for me as I have been on my journey. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. They've been challenging for me. But about 9 years ago, I got a big bump in understanding a little bit more about why I can say all is well. I was diagnosed with cancer and went through that whole ordeal. It was, as any of you probably touched everybody out there. You've either had it or you've had some friends that have had it. And the initial shock is just quite just knocks you off the rails for sure for a while. However, 9 years later, I'm able to look back at my journey and say, wow, there was a lot of just wonderful gifts along the way. And even getting back to going through the therapy that I went through, there was gifts Collateral Beauty is what that was. And that's the name of the movie that's coming up Friday. If you're intrigued, just like Will Smith and I think a couple other really, really big names, it's one of the movies that I've seen probably 5 or 6 times, and it's time for me to see it again. It's just a really wonderful, heartwarming movie, and if you're at all curious, join us Friday. Thank you. 7 p.m. Thank you, 7 p.m.
I'm following the right person. Right after church today, 11:15, we're going to have the Connections, the Social Connections Committee meet. And we want you to be a part of it, if you want to be. And some of the things people said that they wanted to do around here were walks, hikes, bikes, nature, healing, love and lunch, make and send cards, things like that. So if you're interested in participating in that or have ideas of something else you'd like to participate in, please join us. If you can and you're interested, let me know and I'll get you signed up. Thanks.
There's a bulletin board over there on the side that has community events. So if anybody's planning anything or would like to plan something and ask other people to join, that's what that bulletin board's for. Today also at 11:15 is our chaplains meeting. So after the service, our prayer chaplains are meeting. Our kids are going to Diana Swigert's house to see her fairy gardens. So June 16th, Family Friday Fun Nights are back. And I don't think you have to be a little kid to go see Diana's fairy gardens. So I'm sure they're a treasure. She's incredibly talented. Lunch Bunch is headed to Young's Cafe today after the service. Last week, I did a little financial recap and goofed around with money, and John Magny saying a thing about money. And so we've got the QR code up again, but the most important thing I want to say is that those of us who carry checkbooks are the lifeblood of the church. So your checks are welcome always. It's for the next generation who don't carry checkbooks that learning how to use the QR codes or the Zettles. We want you to Zettle up with Unity. Ha, ha, ha. And we're just asking to talk more openly about our financial needs. So thank you for that. QR code in the bulletin. And if you don't know how to use it, you hover your phone, your smartphone over the top of it, and it pops open a screen that prompts you about how to give money. And checking the box that says this is a recurring payment is makes it really easy for us to have a income we can count on. So that would be just great. Thank you so much. Let's join in the centering prayer today. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom to me and you. I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright precious day, dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing how-de-do. They're really saying, I love you. I see babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. And now we're reading from the lovely Ginny.
Good morning. The reading today is from Daily Word, and it's on joy. Joy lives in my heart and colors my life. My fleeting emotions may be dependent on circumstances, but I am also a spiritual being and have joy as my divine birthright. My joy does not depend on earthly happiness. Regardless of outer conditions, I can find deep contentment within. My spiritual practices keep my mind and heart rooted in God. They cultivate joy in my heart the way a tree bears fruit. Jubilation feeds and strengthens me, providing nourishment for me to grow. I celebrate and enjoy my worldly blessings, but not rely on them. During times of ease and bliss, and even during times of challenge or sorrow, a deep gladness exists in me. I rejoice even during the most trying times because I am filled with the joy of God. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. And that's Philippians 4:4. But I also wanted to share a little story with you. In 2002, Dennis and I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we went out to breakfast and saw this couple with this little puppy. And the puppy was the cutest puppy we had ever seen. So we chatted with them to find out what kind of dog it was, and it was a Shiba Inu. So after that, we had a discussion, and we decided that if we ever got a dog again, that we would get a Shiba Inu. But we also said we weren't going to get a dog unless one of us wasn't working, because we felt, it was fair to be home with the dog. So in 2008, Dennis retired, not really on his, he was retired because of health reasons. So we started searching for a Shiba Inu puppy and found one in North Platte, Nebraska at a breeder. And so Dennis drove out to Nebraska, picked her out, and she was only 4 weeks old when he picked her out. So we went back to get her at 8 weeks, brought her home, and that following Sunday, we took her to church. And at that time, we lived in Monument and went to the Unity Church in the Rockies. So that day at church, everybody stopped and asked what she was and smiled and petted her and loved on her. And she looked like a little fox. I mean, that's what they look like when they're little. Anyway, yesterday, our precious Chara, she left a month from being 15. So it was very peaceful. We had the vet come to our home, and we loved on her and let our other animals say goodbye. And I'm speaking about joy, because the joy that this dog brought to our lives was incredible. Also, when we went to church that day, we hadn't named her. And so then I said to Dennis, Dennis, we've got to name her something that's synonymous with joy. So I started doing research, and I found in Greek the name Chara. So that is her name, was Chara. And I just want to say thank you to Chara for all the joy that she brought to us.
That was beautiful. Our little pet friends can just be the best of friends. All right. Please join me. I just want to make sure I'm on the right song, right? Yes, I am. Perfect. Okay. Yes, please join me. 1, 2, ready, go. You got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. You got to spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom down to the minimum, and have faith or pandemonium is liable to walk up on the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah and the ark. What did they do when everything looks so dark? You got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? Back to the top. You got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. I said, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. No, we don't mess with Mr. In-Between. Courtney Fuchs.
Here I am. Thanks, Elise. Oh my gosh, that was such a great. All your song choices have been great today. Thank you. And Ginny, oh my goodness. I really don't even have to give my talk after your reading and your story. I mean, that encapsulates what I'm going to talk about, how joy is found even in the midst of whatever's happening in our lives. There's a way to look at it where we can still feel that. So I'll start off first, though, with full disclosure. The name of my talk, A Deeper Joy, is the name of my Facebook and Instagram pages. I also had a blog for 4 years with this name. I don't write the blog anymore, but I do continue to post inspirational quotes and thoughts about nurturing our joy to my pages. I did, as Anne mentioned, I did recently have my blogs put into book form through Amazon. And so they're available here in the bookstore or on Amazon if you're interested. And there are about 60 essays in there on ways to support our joy. I will not be covering them all today, so don't worry. But I do want to share a few key practices that can encourage more joy in our lives. And I'll also discuss the ultimate goal, which is to surrender the world as the source of our joy and realize that it arises from the presence within. This first quote is by Dr. David R. Hawkins, who teaches from his own experience, "There is absolutely nothing in the ordinary human experience to compare with the joy of the presence of the love of God. No sacrifice is too great, nor effort too much in order to realize that presence." So let's start with the truth that Ginny read from the Daily Word, that joy is our natural state. We all have a natural inner wellspring of joy, gladness, and delight. And my goal today is to share ways that we can support and encourage that inner joy to grow and to watch out for ways that we might be blocking it. For example, one of the ways we block our joy is we look to our human world to supply our joy. Not only do we confuse worldly pleasure with true joy, but we make our happiness conditional on our human circumstances. Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul writes about this by pointing out that when people are asked if they want to be happy, they'll usually answer, well, yeah, but something. I don't have my dream job yet. My car just broke down. He says when we add the but, we're making our happiness conditional on the circumstances of our life because we think our happiness is not within our control. So he makes the question even more compelling by asking, do you want to be happy? From this point forward, for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens? Well, that's a deeper question, isn't it? And if our answer is yes, then he says we have to give an unconditional answer. No more buts, because our joy actually is totally in our control. Putting conditions on our happiness only leads to disappointment, frustration, or anger when we don't get the things we want, which pushes our happiness even further away. Unconditional joy, then, is not putting your joy at the mercy of something out there and not letting the circumstances, challenges, and difficulties in our human experience dictate if we feel joy or not. As Michael Singer says, something happened, there it is. Events don't determine whether or not you're going to be happy. They're just events. You determine whether or not you're going to be happy. He goes on, you can be happy just to be alive. You can be happy having all these things happen to you and then be happy to die. If you can live this way, your heart will be so open and your spirit will be so free that you will soar up to the heavens. So unconditional happiness is a decision, a choice by choice, moment by moment. We work on finding the joy in us regardless of what's going on out there. A Buddhist monk named Maha Ghosananda says, if we cannot be happy in spite of our difficulties, what good is our spiritual practice? So we can't make joy happen or force joy into our lives, but we can set the intention for a life filled with a deeper joy and then vigilantly make choices consistent with that intention. The core of our decision is to value joy more than any other emotion, thought, preference, or opinion. As Dr. Hawkins teaches, we thereby shift our motive in life. We can make even the most mundane tasks a gift to others by doing them with joy. As Dr. Hawkins says, to peel potatoes out of love for one's family is spiritually uplifting to the self with a capital S and the world. So, by the way, the practice of encouraging our joy is not just about wanting to feel good. This is actually a very high spiritual path. Michael Singer teaches this choice to enjoy life will lead you through your spiritual journey. In truth, it is itself a spiritual teacher. Committing yourself to unconditional happiness will teach you everything there is to learn about yourself, about others, and about the nature of life. He goes on, but you have to mean it when you say that you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Every time a part of you begins to get unhappy, let it go, work with it, do whatever you need to do to stay open. No matter what happens, you can choose to enjoy the experience. If they starve you and put you in solitary confinement, you can just have fun being like Gandhi. No matter what happens, just enjoy the life that comes to you. Okay, maybe we're not ready to enjoy being starved. I get that. I don't think I'm that evolved yet. But the point is, it is possible. We can make that choice. In Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, about his time in a Nazi concentration camp, he writes about how he knew he was 100% free to choose what his attitude was about that experience. The circumstances did not determine that. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. Well, what does that mean? It means there's no happiness out there to get to. We find our happiness by choosing to be happy. And as we've already seen, this choice can be made even in the midst of emotional turmoil, difficulties, or pain. Thich Nhat Hanh says, if you can recognize and accept your pain without running away from it, you will discover that although pain is there, joy can be there at the same time. So how do we do this? How do we find this inner joy that's ever present, no matter what it looks like? As Thich Nhat Hanh says, look deeply into your store consciousness to accept that the seed of happiness, the capacity to love and be happy, is there. Practice joy. Practice joy. So one joy practice is simply making time for joy in our lives. We just decide what brings us joy, and then more importantly, do it. It can be anything. It's completely up to each individual to decide what brings them joy. It might be going out for a hike, listening to music, playing with a pet. There's no right or wrong choice about that. The point is just to make time for your joy. If you're like me, we go through our day feeling like we have to get stuff done. And then if we have some extra time, we might get around to doing things that make us happy. But you know the safety talk in an airplane, be sure to put on your own mask first before helping others. So prioritizing our joy activities, it's not being selfish, it's self-care. And our resulting joy becomes a gift to others as well. I know I'm way more fun to be around when I have done things that I enjoy. Our joy practice includes being aware of what we're focusing on, because where we put our attention can either support or undermine our joy. When we're focusing on bad news and what's wrong in the world, how we hate our job, how can we expect joy to arise in us? As Sharon Salzberg says, the difference between misery and happiness depends on what we do with our attention. So to support a joyful state, we want to put our attention on joyful things. We want to hang out with people that uplift us, watch inspiring or funny movies, read books that have a positive or loving message. Limit the news we watch and instead focus on the growing number of wonderful Facebook, Instagram pages, and websites that are filled with good news, positive messages, and inspirational stories. Do you know some of these? Good News Movement, Good News Network, Tank's Good News, Project Happiness. Our own Ellie Darwin has a wonderful site. It's called the Clear Heart Community. And then I'll throw in mine again, too. I'm really committed to being a part of this, what feels like a movement of spreading positive energy and joyful messages. Some people may argue that this is putting on rose-colored glasses, but I've never understood that. Why is it somehow better or more cool or something to focus only on negative information? By choosing to focus on positive and inspiring things, we're not ignoring the negative, we're just putting it in its place. It's just one part of the world we live in, despite the enormous attention it's given by the media. And there are so many good people doing kind and wonderful things, but they just hardly ever make the headlines. As we follow our joy practices, we see more and more clearly that the joy that we're seeking is arising from within us. Maybe it was prompted by something, a cathedral, a piece of music, a hug, but we felt it. We had joy arise in us in that moment. Other people in that exact same situation might have a completely different reaction. So the joy does not arise from the thing itself or from anything outside of us or from the world. It's all within us. So we use our joy practices to help us tune into and kind of jumpstart our joy, put us in the right direction. But as our joy deepens, we find We don't need a stimulus as much, and instead our joy arises from what we are. Now we enjoy all the moments of our lives because we bring joy into each moment. At that level of joy, we find ourselves feeling so grateful for it all, for life itself. And while the gratitude arises naturally, it's also one of the more powerful joy practices. Our joy goes much deeper when we're feeling deep gratitude. As Brother David Steindl-Rast, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the root of joy is gratefulness. It's not joy that makes us grateful, it's gratitude that makes us joyful. Jack Kornfield echoes this idea in this next quote. He says, "The aim of spiritual life is to awaken a joyful freedom, a benevolent and compassionate heart in spite of everything. Gratitude is a gracious acknowledgement of all that sustains us, a bow to our blessings, great and small, to the care that supports every single life. As gratitude grows, it gives rise to joy. Joy is natural to an open heart. In it, we're not afraid of pleasure. We do not mistakenly believe it's disloyal to the suffering of the world to honor the happiness we've been given. And as our joy grows, we finally discover a happiness without cause. Like an innocent child who does not have to do anything to be happy, we can rejoice in life itself, in being alive. To rejoice in life itself shows up again as gratitude and appreciation for everything. It shows up as a deep love for life, for others, for animals and plants. Joy, gratitude, love, they all they'll end up arising and expanding together. As Dr. Hawkins says, as love becomes increasingly unconditional, it begins to be experienced as inner joy. This is not the sudden joy of a pleasurable turn of events, but instead is a constant accompaniment to all activities. Joy arises from within each moment of existence rather than from some outer source. As we grow spiritually, our growing awareness of the divinity of our existence leads us to our deepest joy, a joy that is a quiet, peaceful state of being one with the presence. But even on our spiritual path, we can encounter obstacles to joy. The most common way that we block the joy that we could be feeling on our spiritual journey is through self-criticism and doubt, worrying that we aren't devoted enough or haven't evolved enough, wondering if we're doing it right. Well, to overcome this block, I use one of my favorite teachings by Dr. Hawkins, who reminds us to stop those doubts and judgments because, as he says, the most important goal has already been accomplished. That goal is to be on the road to spiritual dedication. He also says, to even be on the spiritual pathway is already the greatest karma there is. That is the greatest gift. The rest is automatic. He adds, once you get bit by the spiritual bug, the way home is certain. The pathway is going to pull you. Buddha also taught this. He said, rare it is to be born a human. Even rarer to have heard of enlightenment, and rarest of all, to be pursuing it. I rely so much on these teachings to keep the joy in my spiritual journey because they remind me to simply be grateful for the rare and precious gift of this life and for being on a spiritual path. They also remind me to relax about my spiritual progress, stop being so hard on myself, and just enjoy the ride. It's so easy to get stuck in guilt and self-judgment. When we let those go and trust God with our path, so much joy begins to flow. I also keep in mind Ram Dass's teaching that reminds us to keep a sense of humor about the journey. He says, just go home and see how you lost it. Examine it. You go in the next day, you lose it again. You start keeping a diary of how did I lose it today? After a while, when you're starting to lose it, you don't buy in so much. You start to watch the mechanics of what it is that makes you lose it all the time. And then the tendrils of attachment begin to loosen. I also love Dr. Hawkins' teaching that equates our spiritual journey to the growing process of a rose. At every stage of the rose's growth, it's perfect. The bud is a perfect expression of a bud. A half-formed rose is a perfect half-formed rose. The bloom is a perfect bloom. The faded rose is a perfect faded rose. Could any of these stages of the rose be called imperfect or defective? No. They're all essential to its growth and beauty. We can see ourselves and others in the same way. We can see the beauty and perfection in our shortcomings and in our efforts to overcome them. We can see the perfection every time we fall flat on our face and every time we pick ourselves up and try again. Dr. Hawkins says, the way you are right now is absolutely perfect. The next move will take you to the next moment of perfection. You're being attracted to the future by choosing to be on a spiritual path and not driven by the past. So it's not possible to be a failure anywhere along the line. The requirement of enlightenment is to go through what you're going through. That's a powerful recontextualization, isn't it? I love that quote. It can just be so hard seeing that it's perfect that we still have anger or fear in us, or that we're struggling with some situation. But those experiences are bringing us new understandings, teaching us important lessons that we need to evolve. So whatever is happening, our lives are perfect right now. Not later when we've learned the lesson. No, we can be happy with what we are right now, while also seeing that we're still evolving. So perfection is found in all of the stages of our journey. Once we open to that, then the joy of all the stages is revealed. Once, as Nisargadatta Maharaj says, once you realize that the road is the goal and that you're always on the road, not to reach a goal, but to enjoy its beauty and its wisdom, life ceases to be a task and becomes natural and simple, in itself an ecstasy. Every step of the spiritual path provides new joys. We might think that we would like the process to go faster, that we prefer to be instantly enlightened or instantly happy all the time. But we really can find so much joy and satisfaction in seeing how we've grown and evolved through our devotion to our practices, even if we know we have more growing to do. Nothing can come into existence except by divinity. Everything is divinity. You and I are divinity. We're all looking around for divinity, and it's us. It's space, it's gravity, it's the beauty all around us, it's the love we feel, it's the capacity to be aware, it's our very life energy. Take a moment to think about that. We can never be separated from God because God is our very source, life itself. Realizing this, that our essence is divine, is the deepest source of joy. This is from the Katha Upanishad. Those who know they are neither body nor mind, but the immortal self, the divine principle of existence, find the source of all joy and live in joy abiding. When we live in joy abiding, we just want to share that joy and love and give back somehow. And this brings us to the final practice for joy that I'll mention today. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, our greatest joy is when we seek to do good for others. Think about it. If we're motivated by our devotion to God and wanting to be a light in the world, to be compassion and kindness and offer assistance where needed, then we're not busy thinking about ourselves, our troubles and resentments, our wants. We're only here for God, only here for love. Our joy expands as we share our light and love, and we see others uplifted by that. And I can really attest to this. I personally have found an incredible joy in serving here at Unity of Fort Collins. When I started attending services, I took my time. I wanted to get to know the community and what they were about. But the loving energy pulled me in pretty quick. And then when I realized that I had some skills and talents, that could be helpful, it was my honor to offer them. My time here is filled with so much joy and gratitude for being part of this wonderful, loving community. And I know all of you that volunteer here know what I'm talking about, and there's a bunch of you out there. So thank you also for your service. Anyway, if you want more joy in your life, I highly suggest that you look into the wide variety of ways to serve here at Unity of Fort Collins, or serve in the greater Fort Collins community. And maybe you're already serving by being a caregiver to an elderly parent or a young child. Maybe you serve by helping a neighbor in need. But however you serve, when you share your joy with others, it magnifies the joy that you feel. It's truly a gift you give yourself. And I will close with one, there it is, okay. One TV down. One last quote from Dr. Hawkins. One makes a gift of one's life and endeavors by sanctifying it with love, devotion, and selfless service. That is the way of the heart to God. In that way, domestic life becomes a form of worship and source of joy to all. When we seek to uplift others, we are uplifted in the process. He adds, giving is therefore self-rewarding, for there's actually no other that's being given to. Every kind thought or smile is therefore spiritual and benefits oneself as well as all the world. May this bring you a deeper joy. Denise, as Elise is setting up, I have prayer cards that are going to go out right now. We're going to use them during meditation, and then you can keep them when we're done.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere. And every thought's indeed a prayer.
So the prayer that was handed out to you, it was read at Dr. Hawkins' Celebration of Life service. It's based on his teachings on how to pray. I'll read it to begin our meditation, and then we will go into the silence to just reflect on it and be with it. So sit back, take a deep breath, relax the body, just rest in this sacred and precious moment. You can close your eyes, but if you'd rather follow along by looking at the prayer as I read it, that's fine as well. Almighty and ever-living God, we ask to be thy servant, O Lord, to be a vehicle of divine love, a channel of thy will. We ask for direction and divine assistance, and we surrender all personal will through devotion to thy truth. We dedicate our life to thy service. Help us to choose love and peace above all other options, and to surrender all of our judgments to thee, that we might have unconditional love and compassion for all of life in all of its expressions, and surrender our very life to thee at all times and in all places. Gloria in excelsis Deo, now and forever. Amen. We'll just take a few moments to be with those words. Taking a deep breath, we bring our awareness back to our body and the present moment. Before opening the eyes, take a moment to look into your heart and recall something or someone that makes your heart just sing, that floods your heart with love and joy. Allow yourself to smile at the joy that you're feeling. And as you gently open your eyes, feel free to look around and share that smile of joy with those around you.
May the blessings of God rest upon you, me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
Wow, aren't we blessed? So thank you, Courtney, for not only delivering that message, but also living it amongst us. You appreciate it. And Ginny and Elise for your participation. So I invite you to take your offering and just hold in your hands for a moment. And think about joy and love and peace and blessing. I give in love because I love to give. I give in love because I love to give. So on our screen is our offering blessing, so let's state that together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to wet your whistles and join along if you feel compelled. Yeah, I said, here's a little song I wrote. I'd like to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy. In every life we have some trouble, and when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Ooh. One more time. said you ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry, be happy. The landlord said your rent is late. He may have to litigate, but don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Don't worry, be happy now. Ain't got no cash, ain't got no style, ain't got no guy to make you smile, but don't worry, be happy. 'Cause when you worry, your face will frown, and that might get everybody down, so don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Don't worry, don't worry. Here's my number. If you worry, you call me. Do 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 do, yeah. One more time, I say. I said, don't worry, be happy. One more. I said, don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Don't worry, one more time. Thanks for joining along.
Wow, what you come across at Unity of Fort Collins. Thank you, Lise. We've got one more song, don't we? Yeah, so let's go into that.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I said, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. I said, here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I got a microphone here. Who's going to speak for us?
Today we made masks. This is me and Thomas's. Yeah, we made masks too. Me and Avenel made this.
How come you made masks?
Because we were learning about creativity, and we decided to make creativity in these masks.
We made these masks because we were, like Audrey said, we were studying creativity, and we were painting what we saw, what we think is creativity. And me and Gabe just went for splotch. We just added a ton of splotch.
All right, journals. What about journals?
So we got journals that we're gonna, in a piece of paper that we're gonna write down affirmations, a new affirmation every week. Our first one was creativity, which is why we made masks.
And that's Stacy back there in the back. So, Stacy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 1,000 thank yous. Thank you. Okay, let's go and sit down or find your parents. Thank you. Are you all right? Okay. All right. So let's all circle up. We have our prayer protection peace song. All right. So first of all, we have our prayer protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.